Alright guys, today we're checking out Raw, and just a warning ahead of time, I'm going to be doing the voices, so if there's female voices, I apologize in advance, but they're going to be terrible. As always, I'll leave a link to the game in the description. Russian Devs Against the War, Visual Flaws by Kanata. Also, I have no political preferences. Let's just get that out of the way. 2022 to 2025. Or if I do, it has nothing to do with my channel, so... English. There's 4 achievements, we'll try to get them all. Yeah, I think it's disingenuous to say I'm not political at all, but yeah, nothing to do with the channel. Jeez. The start, no way. That is not English. What in the is it going to go back? Is it going to go to English at some point? Ah. What is happening? Is this broken? Is it broken? In the beginning. Oh, that book is not English either. I'm guessing it's Russian, but I would have no idea. Sasha closed her book and scratched her nose, feeling too hot and lazy to read. Outside the window, it's so loud. It's a loud bus. Outside of her window was a field of wheat stretching far away, a boundless ocean of gold. The sky high was not a single cloud in sight, as flat and blue as a dinner plate. Not the usual light blue, but rather deep, electric blue. I like electric blue. Like the Mountain Dew Voltage, I believe. Sasha shivered and... What is going on with my screen? Whatever. Sasha shivered and tried to make herself comfortable on the bus seat. She was just 5 stops away from home. Closing her eyes and falling asleep, she suddenly heard something that drew her attention. And have you heard the news about what's happening in Atlantia? Something really concerning, it seems. What's loud? Poof. Don't panic, it's merely the media fear-mongering about politicians showing off. It's just as usual. Maybe you're right. Actually, no one would benefit from all of this. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, God forbid it's more than that. God forbid. Atlantia? She couldn't feel sleep anymore. Sasha thought of Agni, a close friend of hers. She was from Atlantia, or actually Atlanta, as Atlantia was an archaic name. She lived in a town just near the Delirian border. Agni and Sasha met while in college, but now the girls wouldn't hear from each other as often because of the distance between. In recent years, Deliria had and Atlantia had... Jeez, I can't read. Wait. Okay, yeah, I got it. Delirian and I just can't read, sorry. Atlanta had, to put it mildly, a strained relationship. That's all Sasha knew. She had always been trying not to be political, as politics itself is something dirty and complicated. No use trying to understand it. Could cost you your sanity or ruin all your relationships for God knows what's sake. It's not cool. That's not cool at all. I'll call Agnia tonight, check on her, and ask what on earth is happening. When was the last time they talked? Around the last month or so? And it felt like an entire life ago. Sasha smiled softly. She reminisced over Agnia's voice, a rather versatile one, with a slight burr, going from low-pitched to high-pitched and back, and the sound of her silly, jingling laughs. Wonder what silly, jingling laughs sound like. I've probably heard them before, but I can't think of any. The bus stopped outside, and huge white letters were on a sign saying, Povorotovo. I like that word, Povorotovo Station. I probably did not pronounce it correctly, but it's so cool. God, it's going to take time. The stop there would typically last for 15 minutes, if not 20. Sasha didn't want to stay in the suffocatingly hot and overcrowded bus, so she decided to take a walk around to pass some time. Next to a printed schedule on the bus stop's concrete wall was an enticingly red payphone. 1 call, 1 coin. Why wait until I get home then? Nothing else to do either way. 1 call, 1 coin. Oh, what? I guess I just had to put this on the screen. Oh, the number. Ah, so many decisions. Sasha put a shiny nickel into the coin slot, dialed the much desired number, and put the phone next to her ear. Click. I think they were thinking about putting in options and then changed their minds. A stiff metallic voice. Connecting.
Connecting.
Long beeps, another click. Melodic beeping suddenly ended. A ghostly female voice asked. Oh, she looked tired.
Hello? Who is it? Agnia, hello, it's me, Sasha. Oh, hi. I'm glad to hear you. You sound gloomy. Something happened? War started. Well, what?
Sasha started blinking. Is that a joke? It can't be, just can't be true. War must be something from the distant past, what the modern world has no place for. Just like a woman from the bus said, no one would benefit from it.
I said what I said. We were declared war on around an hour ago. The city's under lockdown.
Dang.
But that's nonsense. Listen for yourself.
He paused. Sasha could hear but a slight rustle, then a deafening alarm sound taking over. Somewhere near Sasha, there was a pathetic sound of sobbing and whimper. It took a few seconds to realize she was the one making it.
Believe me now? I didn't try to argue, but you just talked about it so calmly. Just that I took a lot of chill pills today. Fine, but what are you going to do now? I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Agnes sobbed.
Listen, I'll be there. It's going to be alright, I promise. Hello? Hello?
Uh-oh. Silence inside the phone was mortifying. It seemed she ran out of time.
But I'm not finished.
Sorry, my voice is, well, it's never going to sound right anyways, but it does seem a little bit too high-pitched for Sasha. Sasha barely managed to get inside her departing Route 24 bus, holding onto a slippery, flaky handle. The door behind her closed with a long, creaking sound, almost pinching Sasha's leg. She was losing the ground beneath her. Reality was melting as if in a puddle of water and gasoline. Sasha grabbed her head and stared at a blank point with a blind gaze. This couldn't happen. It can't be. No way. It could be because no way. But what if it's all solved soon? On the other hand, as she knows from her history class, wars never do end soon.
I don't recognize this place. I think we're heading the wrong way.
Sasha shook her head. She wanted to get up and ask the bus conductor at first, but then she felt like it would be of little help. It all felt like being in a very bad dream. And in a dream, you always know everything for sure, no matter how illogical it seems. That's not a very happy-looking sign. From the huge billboard standing by the roadside, gazing at Sasha, was the longtime leader, 4th Chancellor of Deliria, or just Cincinnatus. The 4th, apparently. The bug-eyed, thin, bitter face framed by unkempt black curls was piercing through her with a heavy crimson stare. The face was familiar, as Cincinnatus' the 4th's reign had begun exactly when Sasha was born. He had been around forever, like a background noise, like a chair you inherited, used by you don't know whom, but... Sorry, I just can't read. That's me. Bought by you don't know whom. Something that you can't get rid of because of you don't know why. Some would call him a saint, and some others would call him a tyrant and a dictator, and then never be seen again. But Sasha didn't mind. She still wasn't political. Wrong things were happening somewhere far away, and it couldn't change Sasha's life by a tiny bit. Sasha liked something more down to earth, something eternal. Things that are relevant in every country and in every era, like love poetry and cross-stitching, flowers. Rulers change rather late than early, but love is eternal. Making everything political is bad taste anyway. The less you know, the better. It is a popular centuries-old wisdom. As told by her mother, who was told by her mother, who was told by her mother. Despite living in the same country, Cincinnatus, I don't know. The 4th and Sasha lived in parallel worlds and should have never ever crossed paths. And yet, now it seems they have met. Someone got in the other's way. Ruler on the billboard glared at her and pointed at the viewer with his index finger, wearing a claw-like signet ring. The fat red letters above his head said, "We love them. They dared to not love us." Small letters below invited volunteers to the traffic light changed from red to green, so Sasha couldn't finish reading. Yet she was happy that the bus finally started moving again, as she could barely withstand the painted leader's familiar stare. It burned through her skin, reaching to her soul.
I just can't believe it. It just boggles my mind, right?
Must have been provoked.
Absolutely. Deliria never started wars, just always had to interfere. Something just doesn't click, you know. You don't believe me? Then look it up in a history textbook. Yeah, my butt. And we haven't lost a single war.
Well, what about the battle at Cape Shortbread in 36? Cape Shortbread?
That Delirian war, it was a botched campaign anyways.
Sasha touched the cold window with her forehead. Her head was starting to hurt. The bus stopped again, and doors opened on the Nippon-Yakino station. Please. This stop looked much humbler than the last one. Graffitis, pale, dirty concrete walls, a leaning sign, a crooked bench, and a chipped world peace mosaic, and a payphone attached to the bus stop. The old-fashioned payphone had several of the digit keys burnt out, and above was written by a bold black marker, "You know whom you have to call." The old-fashioned payphone had several... Oh, okay, same thing. Yep. Sasha put a shiny nickel into the coin slot, dialed the much-desired number, and put the phone next to her ear. Click. Reluctant pause. A mechanical-sounding baritone voice. Connecting. Long beeps. Another click. Melodic beeping suddenly ended.
Hello, hi Agnia, can you hear me? Yeah, I can. I'm happy you called. Happy that you still remember me. Want to have a laugh, huh?
Sasha winced a little. Every time Agnia would say she was going to tell her something funny, it was either something tragic or something outwardly creepy.
Not a time for laughs. Go on, though. You're the only one from our friend group who called me since the war started. The rest act like I don't exist. Even Igor didn't. Well, actually some did reach out, but it'd be way better if they didn't. Why? Only I knew. Maybe they feared they'll be executed on sight just for a phone call. What if they do think I'm a bloodthirsty equalist, or who eats Lyrians for breakfast, who stabs herself with a knife high on patriotic nerve agent, dropped from geese in the Atlantean sky, or whatever bullcrap you're told. I don't want to even talk about them. They're all dead to me. Okay, let's change topics. How are you doing after all? Honestly, it sucks. I mean, I'm not the one to complain. So far, I'm relatively safe and not threatened because I live away from the battlegrounds, but... anyway. We have a curfew here. I'm constantly hearing explosions and gunshots, and these sounds are coming closer and closer every day. I'm trembling whenever I see a tank passing outside. All my plans are ruined, and I know that I don't know a darn thing. Goodness, it's terrible. I'm speechless. Yeah, me too. It's so all of a sudden. It was just fine, and then bang. It wasn't fine at all. For the last 7 years at least. What do you mean? I mean what I said. The war has been raging for at least 7 years, but not really actively, and only near the border. Is it even possible? I'm not a military strategist, but it seems that it is. And how did it all start? My mother woke me up in the middle of the night. She said, "Wake up, the war started. Delirium troops are near Aris and Koye." I don't get it. So it means that Deliria attacked Atlanta? But that's barbaric. It makes no sense. We've always lived in peace. We're sister nations and all that. Sasha, are you stupid or something?
Oh, rude.
Don't scream at me. Where have you been for the last few years? Were you on planet Nibiru? Or under the sea, perhaps? How come you're so disconnected from reality? I wasn't interested in this topic, and I've never watched the news. Neither the newspaper nor radio. They always say we're doomed, and I can't do anything about it, so why make yourself sad? And I didn't have to. I'm an artist, not a spin doctor. Everyone should mind their own business. Right. How interesting.
Sasha felt so bitter in the mouth upon hearing this disappointed Dash tone, as if she just ate an onion.
Please don't get mad. And what can I do? TV and radio are always lying. That's what they're for. And it's hard and dangerous to get any resistance newspapers. And they as well say we're doomed, and they lie too. I really want to figure it out, and you're the only one who can explain to me what's happening. Whom else can I believe if not you? And what if I'm lying too? How do you know? Well, you wouldn't have a reason to. We're friends. So, yeah.
An awkward pause.
Sorry, did I say anything wrong? No, why? I think I'm starting to understand what's happening over there. Well, let's say compared it to some talk I had before. And what is happening over here? Okay, let me try to put it as briefly as I can, but I warn you, I'm neither a historian nor a soldier. So I might be getting some details wrong. So it all started back then, 7 years ago, and here's what...
Sizzle click. And once again, mortifying silence.
Hello? Hello, Agnia? Agnia, where are you?
We ran out of time again.
But I didn't hear the rest. What was the start?
Nobody was replying. It seems Sasha will have to figure it out for herself when she gets home. She's never going to get home. That's the plot twist. Sasha rubbed her temples and kicked the seat before her nervously. The window was dusty from the outside, but it was still possible to see through it. A sea almost as dark as if it was black, rumbling of the heavy waves crashing into the rocks and foaming in a fountain of white spray. A gray, lifeless rocky beach surrounded by the cliffs of unbelievable shapes, covered with a layer of slimy seaweed. Dead mermaids and fish guts, a dense swarm of flies hovering over. In the distance, gigantic warships were approaching, with purple lightnings flickering threateningly. Yet there was no rain. A wave crashing onto the shore, water falling back down, rustling between rocks just to hit them again and again. What did Agnia mean by what's happening over there? Deliria is no kind of a closed country shrouded in mystery, like, for example, Helmer. And what does stabbing myself with a knife out of patriotism mean? Whatever it is, it's not fair, it's terrible and absolutely wrong. Sasha thought of Agnia's grandmother, who made pancakes for her when Sasha came to stay for a week. She thought of Platoshka, Agnia's younger brother, and thought of the way he tried to mimic bird sounds when they would take a walk in the nearby forest. Now they are all in grave danger. It's not their fault, and they don't deserve it. No one does. Sasha must help them, at no matter what cost. But what could Sasha do? She can only feel sorry for them. They're all far away, and she's here. It's all in the past, in some kind of another life. The pancakes, the birds, the straws across the seashore. Everything changes, people come and go, but life itself is something you can't change. You can only go with the flow, like a leaf falling into the river.
No, that's not how it works.
Sasha shook her head. Agnia is 1,000 kilometers away, behind the barbed wires, in a crimson veil of war started by Sasha's very own country. Cincinnatus the Fourth is very far as well, inside the extremely secure underwater base on the sea's very bottom. And yet, Cincinnatus the Fourth is much farther. He didn't ask for Sasha's permission to put her friend in danger. His official title was the Lord and Savior of all of Deliria. Obviously, he wouldn't have to ask for anyone's permission. But the Chancellor's position implied he must have had. At least because it was written in the Constitution of Deliria on the very first page, he couldn't care less. If so, then Sasha also didn't need his permission for absolutely anything. But however, the question remained unanswered. What could Sasha do to help?
Atlanteans have grown so aggressively lately. Yesterday, my friends called me a cannibal and demanded I never call them again. Can you even imagine?
I know, right? I've heard the government uses a flock of pigeons to spray a patriotic nerve agent over their cities. That's why they're like this.
Either way, they're absolutely retarded now.
What the heck?
No more than thankless scum. We're saving them, and this is their gratitude.
Dang, Grandma. Pretty harsh.
Saving them for what? What do you mean for what? We're saving them from themselves. Back in the day, Bogan Woogan wrote that Atlanteans are but wise children, so from time to time they have to be chastened by any means.
I'm sorry, I know this is supposed to be like a serious tone and everything, but Bogan Woogan and the grandma calling everybody retarded is kind of crazy.
It was in the national news yesterday. Their evil government uses radio towers to radiate them or something, so they get aggressive and kill themselves and one other. But the brave Delirian army is stopping them by shooting those rabid dogs. God forbid they harm anybody. Oh, so it appears he had a point then.
Ministry of Information, why sure, it's all for our common good.
We need a bus or in a god-darn debate club.
Sasha got up and looked around, wishing to look in the faces of those renowned experts in sociology, warfare, and political commentary. And oddly enough, it was easy. Despite the bus being overcrowded, it was a small group in the rear who spoke the loudest and made a lot of noise with plastic bags filled with glass. The rest of the passengers, however, stayed sinisterly gluey silent, mournfully staring in the windows or up, or at the books they held upside down, or just pretending to be asleep.
I beg your pardon, can you be a little more quiet? What's wrong?
Exclaimed a chubby woman in a polka dot dress, looking like a big chicken. Yeah, what's the matter this time? We're sitting still, having a polite discussion. It's the very butt of the bus, by the way. Barely any room here. Y'all take so much space, and still not happy. Whined a portly man with a bad shave.
Why is this young lady causing a mess all the time? What a disgrace! We'll tell the conductor and get you thrown off the bus.
A hag as crooked as a question mark aggressively shook her cane.
Am I? Well, who else, young lady? Just sit down and stop embarrassing yourself.
Sasha clenched her fist. She was ready to retaliate the rudeness, but almost fell on the floor. The bus stopped too suddenly. This will probably be our last phone call. On a leaning sign outside, one could recognize the bus stop name Raspilovo. Above the bench was a washed-out propaganda poster saying, "We forge the arms," looking ironic and somewhat formidable next to the train schedule. The cold wind ruffled Sasha's hair. Blowing through it smelled like rot, fumes, and something mechanical in the air. The girl sneezed and squirmed. And the phone, it was here too, of a seemingly very obsolete model, barely not falling off the wall. It lacked some of the keys, wires exposed, handset duct taped. Corners of the bus reeked of piss. The walls covered with obscenities and painted with raunchy primitive drawings. Somewhere far away were loud popping sounds and howling dogs. I added to know there. Sasha has almost ran out of nickels. That is definitely a penis. Sorry, language. On the number. Sasha put a shiny nickel in the coin slot. Dialed. That's realism, though. If there's a wall and graffiti, someone's going to draw one. Dialed the much desired number. Thankfully, she could still press the keys and put the phone next to her ear. Click. A reluctant pause. Coughing a man's quiet laugh. A higher-pitched baritone voice with a light mechanical hoarseness. You don't say, really? It's getting interesting. Connecting. Long beeps, another click, sickening melodic beeping suddenly ended.
Hello? Hello, Agnia, can you hear me? Sasha, is that you? Yeah, me. How are you? Hard. So much happened here. I don't even know what to start with. Start with in any way. It's always helped me. Oh, anyway. 2 days ago at the Watchtower in Ryushinoye. Sorry. Was hit by a missile, so there's water shortages in the entire region. Can't even take a shower. Then they hit the Seashore Bazaar and so it killed a lot of people. But children too.
Agnew paused. It was hard for her to speak, her voice weak and quiet.
This is horrendous. My condolences to you and your land. I don't even know what to say. Thanks a lot. We're running low on food too, and Fluffy ran away through the window. I think he's gone crazy because of the constant shooting. I think Austin being insane too. Are you wounded? Is your family safe? Yes, we're safe, knock on wood. A few sleepless nights, but it's fine. And how are you? Still heading home, aren't you?
Excuse me. In what way? 2 days ago, it's only been a few hours. Sasha had heard people joking that time and space are distorted in Deliria, as they have to cater to Cincinnatus is every whim, but it can't be that serious. She suddenly lost understanding of where she is heading to and where her home is. It's all been lost. Time, space, stability, just in a single moment. A huge, boundless world turned into a big, icky bullet point. One second. Sasha took a deep breath to reply with something sensible and started crying. Hot, salty tears slowly were falling down on her face, ultimately landing on spattered ground.
Sasha, wait, are you crying?
Sasha sobbed loudly and nodded, even though Agnia couldn't see it through her phone.
Now calm yourself down. Sorry, I just can't. It's so wrong. It's very, very wrong. It can't be like this. I want to help you. I want to stop it so you're not in danger anymore, but I can't do anything. Calm down. Aren't you ashamed? Why? Why am I ashamed that I can't stop this? Yes, but I am, but... No, you are wanting somewhere relatively safe, and it's me who's reassuring you, while my land is being shelled right now. If you called just to complain, pull yourself together.
That was rude. So rude that it felt like a slap in the face.
How do you manage to stay so calm? I don't get it myself, to be honest. Maybe I'm so calm because my city is unharmed. Maybe I can just turn off of my emotion when I need to. Maybe I'm just an indifferent B-word. By the way, you know, I'm not always like that. It comes like in waves, like being on a swing, you know. Now I don't feel a thing, and later I'm crying for an hour straight, and then I'm punching walls suddenly. Maybe that's how your mind's trying to cope. I'm not darn sure. I'm really going insane. Almost lost all my intellectual mobility. It's hard to think. I can't concentrate at all again. I'm inhibited. Maybe it affects my emotions too. Someone is active and vulnerable when stressed, and I'm a monolith instead. I only know that deep inside I hate those delirium B-words for what they're doing. The ones here, the ones in Deliria, all of them. And me too?
Agnia sounded like she was gritting her teeth.
Not to talk about on your phone. Guess yourself, right?
Oh man.
Sorry. Whatever.
Sasha wiped her tears with the sleeve of her jacket.
I really want to help you, but I can't figure out what one could do. Maybe I could send you food or some money? Actually, it wouldn't hurt to, but how could you do it? You can end up in prison for violating wartime laws. I don't want you to be in prison or be executed either. I have an idea. I'll only be able to do it once I get home, and it's something to thoroughly think about. Perhaps I'll need Robert's help. Robert? That dumb butt ex of yours?
He laughed nervously, and it seemingly cheered her up a little.
Oh no, not anymore. I won't be able to tolerate another drama over Rob.
Sizzling, cracking mechanics. Agnia's voice became distorted, as if on a chewed-up cassette tape. Click. And once again, mortifying silence.
Hello? Hello? Darn it, not this crap once more.
He hung up the phone with a push, almost destroying the barely working machine to pieces. Oh, maybe we got one more phone call. Back to the bus. Inside, the crowded bus smelled like rotting flesh, diesel, and fumes. Sasha felt dizziness in her head, and a nauseous lump in her throat from sensing it. But others didn't seem to even notice the smell. It was impossible to concentrate, own thoughts drowning in the sound of the roaring engines. The tears she struggled to hold down were tearing her from the inside. There were cracks in the dirty window frame. A thin, whitey spiderweb was gradually covering the glass from the inside. Outside was a run-down amusement park, Ferris wheel screeching and slowly swinging in the wind. The horizon has faded. There was no more edges between the black, withering, lifeless soil, and the skies choking on blood. From a chasm on the ground, hordes of soldiers emerging wearing winter uniforms, holding guns. They were marching into the city, singing, guided by the drumbeat. Their blue, cadaverous faces expressed nothing but an infernal flame, and centuries-old lust for slaughter were blazing in their crimson eyes, same as their commanders. Sasha was terrified by their number, and they kept arriving on, stepping on dead bodies piled up on hot asphalt. They marched along, ravaged, burning streets, past destroyed houses. They had nobody to live in anymore. The houses with broken windows and collapsed walls darkened by soot. The city surrounding them was dead, and the buildings were collapsing on their own, pressured by the futility of their being. They were heading east, wearing hemorrhagic, I don't know how to pronounce that. Skies like a motherly heart was pulsating in the black sun.
We must wipe Atlantia off the map, or not to interfere at least. It's our duty as patriots.
Exactly. Their lands are rightfully ours. They're just corrupted half-deliriums.
It's our country way of sovereignty, a question of its existence.
Kill, kill, one more time, kill. I'm a professor, I'm telling you. Oh, I went. Oh. Sasha felt her face and hinge being covered with a sticky, slimy, and lukewarm substance, but it was just psychosomatics. In reality, her face and hands stayed white and clean. The red light coming from outside looked like fresh blood on the remaining passengers.
Stop it, please stop it, enough. Don't you love Deliria?
A traitor of her nation, drive her away, taunt her.
Stop the bus, I'm going to be sick, I'm going to vomit, you hear me?
From the bus, she was ejected onto a dilapidated stop, as if a foreign object being rejected by a well-coordinated organism. Sasha leaned against the wall, upholstered by cheap blue iron plates, and managed to barely suppress her vomiting. Taking a breather, she sat on a raggedy, splattered bench, covered in all kinds of stains, not worrying about her jeans being dirty. Broken glass crunched beneath her feet. Corncobs painted on the bus stop named Elephant Cemetery looked so mockingly. Huge letters over them saying "Run," in turn looked sinister. Sasha still hadn't managed to get ideas. An everlasting, tattered, lunatic nightmare, nowhere to wake up from. How can this be happening? Lord, if you ever exist, help me. Sasha's eyes fell on another barely functioning payphone.
And what am I going to see on the next stop? 2 cups with a rope?
She giggled hysterically. She only had her last nickel left, and she sure knew what to do. She only had the last... Oh, yeah. Sasha put a shiny nickel into the coin slot, dialed, barely succeeding, the much desired number, and put the phone next to her ear. Click. A reluctant response. Reluctant pause, sorry. Someone's tongue clicking too. Familiar as for now, a hoarse baritone voice with ingratiating undertones, not for an answering machine's likeness.
Can I ask you a question before I connect you? Who is it? Be honest, tell me, why are you doing this? Doing what?
Why are you constantly calling her? It doesn't do you any good, let it alone, it's not even fun. You can't help her, only waste your time and energy for nothing. She's always complaining to you, tempting you to think subversive thoughts. What the hell for? And what And more importantly, why?
I don't get it. She's my friend. She's in a terrible situation.
Anyone can get into a terrible situation. Life is such an unpredictable thing.
We've been friends for a long time before the war. How can I abandon her?
With ease, you'll meet another one from a friendlier nation. Aren't there enough friends for you in Deliria? Do you even have to be friends with the public enemy?
I told you when we first met, there were no signs of war.
Strong claim to make. According to my intel, well, forget it. However, the times have changes. People come and go, you get it?
She might die, and her family too. They're not equalists. They're not equalists there at all. It's ordinary people who haven't harmed anyone.
So what? And if they die, are you going to weep or something? Life is a dangerous thing after all. It causes people to die.
And what do you think I should do then? Be happy about people who haven't even heard me dying?
Nah, not at all. Just stay quiet. Keep doodling stuff. Read books, going to museums, sleeping in class, or whatever you're doing.
But that's pure bastardry. It's treachery.
Didn't know how to fix that one. I guess it'd be wordedry, but what? One can betray a homeland, but if it's a single person, one just parted ways with them. Maybe I'd understand if it was if she was your mom, or let's say your girlfriend, but you're not as close with that Agnieszka girl as far as I know. You not fear Delirium laws, huh? Do you want to end up in prison for a phone call? Is that a threat?
Who the hell are you, and how do you know all this?
I'm your personal phone operator. It's my job to moderate calls.
So connect me to Agnia yet now.
His voice turned mechanic and metallic again. Don't order me to do what to do, or else I get really offended. Stop your separatist talks real fast.
And why haven't you already?
Voice once again high-pitched and relaxed and ingratiating, or human in a way. There are two reasons. Firstly, I'm recording you, and secondly, I like reality shows. I'm caring for you, you silly. I'm pitying you because your pretty eyes and cool tits. Oh, well.
Dude, goodness, you're so disgusting. Get away, you butthole.
Oh, well, that's it. Click. Cracking mechanics, silence. Phone operator's metallic voice, connecting. Long beeps, another click, sickening melodic beeping seemed to last forever, but ended as suddenly as a gunshot.
Hello? Sasha? Sasha, is that you? Yes, it's me. How is it now? You've been...
Choked on her own tears, bawling out.
We've been shelled for 3 days, and we'd hidden in the basement. Grandma died on the first day with a heart failure. We spent the next 2 days with her body in complete darkness. Sasha, I can't. I thought I'd die. I thought we all die. I hate them. God, I despise them so much. So much.
Sasha slowly held the phone to her chest. It stared blindly into nothingness. It seemed like she came up with a better plan. Uh-oh, what's the plan? The air inside was stale and heavy, and even more odorous. The bus was going straight into the void at full throttle, breaking barriers and smashing everything on the road, engines roaring and wind whistling. However, everyone was fine with it. Sasha was hiding a switchblade in her sleeve, something she normally keep on the bottom of her bag just to calm herself. Heck? Just to be safe. Yeah, I got you. Protection. She had never used it before. Oh. She snuck up to the emaciated conductor standing in the bus and held the blade next to her throat.
Hey, are you crazy? What the frick are you doing?
Nonsense, we'll call the police.
Lunatic! Get this lunatic off here! Everyone shut up, and now turn around and drive towards Atlanta or I'll slice her throat. Help me.
But nobody rushed to help her. The rear went quiet, and the remaining passengers acted like spineless silent statues for long enough that they turned into them. Sasha was absolutely confident she was doing the right thing. She was going to save Agnia. To save her dad, mom and dad, save Potosha, save Fluffy, and every single one on their way. It's just that simple. It'll be better for everyone that way. The bus drove into a tunnel and fell into impenetrable darkness. On the final station, there was but a scorched field. There were no people, no buildings, no cars. Just a lone brick, a cheap folding chair covered in dust and soot, and a broken phone dial with a hanging wire. I said ragged wire. Ragged wire. Sasha held the phone to her ear instinctively. Though sizzling and cracks, she could hear shooting, some kind of humming, people crying and screaming. She couldn't hear a word. Electricity was cracking like an eggshell. Sounds were infinitely far away, but they were slowly contaminating the space. Sasha tilted her head and looked up. From the grimy greenish skies hanging low, it was snowing black, never-melting snow. We have broken everything we could. Please stay in line. No way. First novel completed. The Beast. We need to get some male characters up in here. My voice. A crossroad of roads and rivers, a wooded plain disfigured by the laceration of trenches and the bulging sores of dugouts. The perfect bottleneck for an enemy offensive. From the abstract height of impersonal generalist maps, the place is just the intersection of a pair of black and blue lines with a border drawn in pencil on top. An invisible barrier between us and them, where the lives of thousands turn into numbers. It's all behind. Only the distant cannonade of large caliber artillery that roared around the hills and valleys reminded of the millstones of war, grinding the young and old into a homogeneous pulp. They had been riding over potholes in the bullet-rusted Uaz for hours. Rapidly moving away from the sectors of shelling and suppressive fire. Life and death in the trenches there are fed up. I don't know what the U is for, but I'm sure the A and Z is probably artillery zone. Possibly. But there were only two ways out. Into the coffin or on the run. They chose the latter. Valera, who had managed to get bored behind the wheel of the... Oh, maybe it's the vehicle. Oh, well, I was wrong. Uaz idly asked his comrade to somehow dilute the monotonous hum of the engine and the intermediate creaking of the suspension. I gotta blow my nose again. One sec. Oh, it didn't mute. Whoops. Yeah, sorry about that. Meant to mute the mic. How'd you even get to the front? Oh, wait. Sasha... Oh, okay. Sasha's still here. Hello in the corner of the seat near the door didn't answer immediately.
The draft, how else?
Valera gave a sad hum. I'm volunteering. My father was a fireman. He rescued people, pulled people out of the fire. I also wanted to follow in his footsteps, you know? Except I've got a lot of strength, but I've got no breath. It didn't work out. But then when this war started, I thought,
Look, shut up, will you? I don't care about your stories.
Oh, hecka rude. Jesus. Sasha's mind was occupied with more important problems. For 15 minutes, he did not take... Wait, is Sasha a female now? I'm so confused. Oh, heck. 15 minutes, he did not take his eyes off the loose fuel gauge hand, which was shaking idly somewhere at the level 0. The theft of the car was the end of their plan. Neither Sasha nor Valera had managed, even in their wildest dreams, that they would get this far. Which direction to go, what to do afterwards, how to get supplies, all these questions were put aside in the drawer with the tag, we'll figure it out later. Now, when there was only a little gas left in the tank, Sasha was cursing everyone for not thinking about the answers beforehand. What does Sasha look like? I don't know if it's the same Sasha or what's up. Excuse me. After a few minutes of long silence, Sasha tried to turn the conversation towards more pressing issues.
We're almost out of gas.
I'm gonna assume it's a female until I'm for sure. What, for sure? Bewildered Valera lowered his eyes and his pupil dilated. A nagging uneasiness had lingered in his soul ever since their escape, but now he was numb with terror and his forehead was sweating. The prospect of standing dead in the middle of nowhere without water or food now seemed worse than instant death in the meat grinder of an attack. What are we going to do? Try to get to the district center? Blair's question, empty and meaningless in their situation, as if and did not imply an answer.
We'll make it. We'll make it. We've only got a couple of kilometers of gas left, no more. Even if by some miracle we make it, look at you.
Valera did not immediately understand his comrade's outburst, and only shook his head in response. Only after a moment did it come to him. The front of his uniform is still relatively fresh, stains of brown, trench mud that scratched steel helmet.
Stop by the first military patrol. What are we going to tell them, huh? That we were on a covert mission to reconnoiter the frickin' terrain, fighting off patrols and ambushes, and then we captured?
Sasha pictorially described an arc with his hands. Okay, Sasha is definitely he. Okay, so it's a different Sasha, I guess.
No, no, no.
In his head, Valera realized the hopelessness of their situation, but in his heart, he refused to believe what was happening. Like a drowning man going to the bottom, he desperately grabbed the air with his hand. The air did not give him the support he needed. I can't tell who's who. Why didn't you think of the uniform in the first place, smart butt? How are we supposed to run if it gives us away everywhere? Sasha wanted to snap at him, but the right words, or rather even excuses, didn't enter his head at all. No matter how hard he tried, he had nothing to answer. I don't know what we should do. Maybe we should try to get there on foot. Maybe they won't see us. There are not many soldiers in a frontline town.
You're an idiot, Valera. I don't care about the uniform. You only have one job. Gasoline in the warehouse, super rations in the kitchen. That's it. What's so hard about it? You tell me. The boys, 18 years old, will survive the first attack. They all start stealing from hunger. And you, big forehead, came empty-handed. You got a guilty conscience, huh? Is this Valera or Sasha? I have no idea.
Couldn't take it from our guys.
Couldn't do it. So it's okay for us to freaking ride in the middle of nowhere with our butts naked, huh?
I don't know who Sasha is. That was Sasha. Everything inside Valera squeezed like a spring under that hail of accusations and attacks. He wished he could stop the car right here, right now, punch Sasha in the face. The hard fate threw him the most unpleasant partner, a calculating, petty man who thinks only about himself and no one else. Perhaps in the war, only such survive. But Valera has no one to choose from. The whole world is against him now. Army patrols will open fire without warning. Police will court-martial them. And civilians will report them to the proper places in exchange for an off-the-line food ration. Like it or not, they're together now. Together until the end, whatever it may be. Disappointed and tired, Valera only muttered to himself under his breath. Why do you keep whining? I told myself I didn't even want to be with you in the first place.
Ah, is that how we talk now? If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have gotten more than a couple hundred freaking meters from the trench. Or have you forgotten?
Valera only flinched and mumbled in response. He didn't forget. Among the hills covered with the first autumn snow, among the forest and hills blown by all the evil winds, there was a ramshackle wooden house. As decrepit as a withered old woman, he stood as a lone guardian, abandoned by all to the harsh, indifferent nature. The once cozy courtyard was overgrown with bushy weeds, and the cattle pens nearby were now inhabited only by dust and the bones. The place looked abandoned from the outside, which was why they spotted it. At the approach to the cabin, the engine snorted and sneezed, wheezed in final starvation agony, and fell silent. The tachometer arrow glibly crawled to zero, and the UAZ rolled forward by inertia, leaving torn ruts of freshly plowed mud on the damp ground. When the Tarantus finally pulled into the last parking place, Sasha sighed and took his automatic rifle from the straining back seat. Hanging it around his neck, he summarized disappointedly. Here we freaking are. Well, let's go see what the heck this place is. Sasha nodded in response. Valera opened the tight door opposite the driver's cab and stepped onto the free land for the first time in many months. The intoxicating scent of free air hit him harder than any champagne. Like a student had successfully passed the last exam of the session, he mentally froze at the very crest of the emotional peak. When it seems that the almost impossible for a brief moment suddenly became possible. They've escaped. Against all odds, they're free at last. Enjoying the moment, Blair squared his shoulders and confidently headed for the door of the shabby house. Sasha soon followed him. They positioned themselves to the left and right of the entrance, exactly at short range as the short-range combat manual dictated. The house, though it looked empty and abandoned, still had brought bad thoughts to their soldiers' minds. The natural selection of war rapidly weeds out the insane and the brave in the hours of shelling, leaving only the cautious and suspicious alive. Following an old ingrained in the subcortex habit, Sasha switched to the fire mode to automatic and kicked down the old door from the rotten lock. Inside, they were greeted with warmth and comfort that was deceptively hidden behind the facade of abandonment. Oh gosh, it's an old lady. Obeying their now unconditional instinct, Valera and Sasha pointed their automatic rifles at the indistinct silhouette in the far corner of the darkened kitchen. The figure gasped in surprise, and the porcelain mug on the platter slipped out of her hands. It shattered, leaving behind a puddle of darkish, steaming liquid. Tea. Sasha switched on his flashlight, and a burst of bright lights revealed from the darkness the curled, hunched figure of a woman wrapped in rags and shawls. She was shaking finally with fear, trying in vain to shield her painfully jaundiced eyes from the bright ray of the artificial sun. Her lips moved faintly, and the granny let out something between a frightened mumble and a groan.
Oh, come on, come on, come on.
Valera slowly lowered the machine gun down. Sasha described an arc with the flashlight, picking out the interior of the village kitchen from the darkness. From the inside, the cabin looked like it had been plucked straight out of a bedroom city neighborhood. Slightly shabby garnish, a slender row of glass-fronted cabinets under the ceiling. Even the sink was perched on a pipe above the floor. The rusty stain stains gave away that the water hadn't been splashed in it for quite some time. Sasha stepped aside and checked the corridor stretching to the bedroom with a sharp lunge. Answer was only the creak of old, cracked boards under his feet. No one, absolutely no one. Uh-oh, don't be mad, Mother. Don't be mad, okay? You haven't been trained to live freely since the war. We'll fix your door, really. The granny only looked warmly in his direction, a slight semblance of a... Gosh, my nose, one sec. Ah, forgot to unmute. A slight semblance of a smile frozen on her tempestuous lips.
Come on, soldier boys. You'll have time. Let's have some tea. The kettle's boiling.
That was the deal. Blair squirted. The old lady voices are like the hardest. Blair squirted tea like a little child, not caring about at all how it burned his throat, leaving behind an unpleasant feeling of sand on his tongue. After the damp, dark trenches, even ordinary water would have seemed to him an exquisite beverage. He was so used to the simple, everyday joy of life. From sitting at the table, from the possibility of sitting on a chair with his back straightened without fear of glare from the invisible optics of snipers. Sasha was squirming in his chair as if it was not his own. Everything seemed foreign to him, and his head still refused to believe in the fairy tale that in an instant became reality. Oh, we almost saw Sasha, kinda. In the 5 minutes that passed in silence, he didn't take a single sip from the steaming mug. Tell me, how do you even live here? There's nothing here at all, just a ball of smoke for 20 kilometers. That's how we live our lives. That's how we live. The old woman sighed and lowered her gaze. Is something wrong? You could say that, yeah. We've lived here for a long time with my Sinya. We would have lived here for 20 years if the bloody war hadn't come to us. Sinya, he was a lark. Was it a bird? He'd get up early in the morning, start his car, and drive to the local district center. Sell milk from our cow and buy food and something else in return. He was a handyman. Every day he was always picking, twisting, turning something with his hands. He even dug a well. Can you believe it, Sonny? What happened to him? I don't know. And if I did, I'd probably die of grief. He left one morning and didn't come back. Maybe dead. I don't know. I don't know. Valera glanced at his comrade and poked him in the side. Leave Grandma alone. Why are you asking all these questions? Quiet, you. Tell me, how's your food situation? Household is obviously in decline because of the war, and you live far away from the city. I ain't complaining, son. I'm old, aren't I? I'll eat 2 crumbs, and that's enough for the whole day. So and so, my senior, he used to trade milk for canned goods from Riza Petrovna, the saleswoman. I scolded him then, the wretched one, and he just smiled back at me and said, when the hungry days come, you'll thank me. He was right. He was right. I can't deal with it. But there's no one else to thank now. Where do you get your electricity from? They don't see any power lines around here. Oh, what's his name? Oh God, I forbid I remember. Generator? That's it. There's a generator in the yard, smoking. It's what keeps this place running. An unkind spark gleamed in Sasha's gaze. Generator, then. So you have a supply of gasoline, too. Yes, and yeah, he hoarded everything. Saved it all for a rainy day. Granny sighed and shook her head slightly, as if trying to get rid of the soul-crushing memories of long-gone happiness. Well, I don't want to talk about myself all the time. Tell me, sons, what's going on at the front nowadays? I'm a deaf old woman and know nothing new. The news doesn't reach me, and there's no one to deliver it. Valera, who hadn't expected the question, coughed awkwardly and was confused, while Sasha was still pensively eyeing the mug with the cold tea. What is there to tell him? Tell her? About death coming out of nowhere in a flash? About the screams of the maimed, which can be heard even in complete silence, and even more so in the cold of night, on the shaky threshold of dream and reality? About the crazy orders and the crazy looks of soldiers who carried them out against all the odds? Blair sighed. Oh, why do I have to scare you with such horror stories? And you want to remember something that you know. Happy? About soldiers' brotherhood, about military spirit, honor, about the moments when there is no shelling and no rifle fire. But it's all just a sham. It's even self-delusion. You all want to believe that there is something heroic about this war. That our cause is right, and that it all makes a little bit of sense. There's no sense. Just a meat grinder. I thought I'd volunteer for the front. I was unfit for the draft. I thought I'd go as a nurse. I won't take up arms, but I'll help people. So they took me to the infirmary on the truck the first day. I walked in, there's so much blood around, it's like metal souring on my tongue. One guy I remember, Doshkevich was his name, I think. Both legs below the knees are gone, his face is all disfigured, teeth in shreds, from the nose only 2 holes had remained. Blown up on a mine, but still clung to life. Still clung. Late at night, his brother sought me out. He said, take the gun, kill him. This isn't life, it's torture from hell. But I can't take such a sinful soul, even though I know he's right. I refused. So he pushed me aside, broke into the infirmary, and blew his brains out himself. 2 days later, he was shot on the tribunal. After that, I went straight to the headquarters, asked for a pass. I thought they'd send me home. I was immediately reassigned to the front. That's how I help people, huh? After Valera's story, everything in the cabin seemed to plunge into a mournful silence. The silence that came did not bring peace, but was rather an impressive growing uneasiness. While the old woman lowered her head and plunged into her thoughts, Sasha cast an unkind glance in Valera's direction. The latter answered him only with a grimace of sincere incomprehension. In his head, Sasha had already matured a plan that would save them both, but in his heart he seemed to sincerely need the support of his comrade. The idea is as simple and sharp as broken glass, as wicked as war itself. But how to decide to do such a thing, how to cross the threshold, Sasha didn't know. Deep down, between his stomach and heart, swirls of fear and determination fought. Until finally a cold and cruel mind put a stop to the eternal dissonance. Life in the trenches had taught him one thing, to act here and now, without regret, without hesitation. Uh-oh. Sasha jumped up from the table, snatched a black pistol from its holster, and brought the front and rear sight between the old lady's eyes. Are you out of your freaking mind? What are you doing? Oh man, you're gonna have to put Sasha down, bro. The 4 walls of the lonely, ramshackle cottage. The step guardian shook. Oh. Trying to read it, but it went too fast. Someone got shot. Yeah, it's kind of like a cutscene. Shook with a thunderous clap. Hopefully Blair shot him, and now Sasha... oh, well, I guess not. Sasha put on his shoulders a hiking backpack that had become heavy from fresh canned food and corned beef, and in his left hand he carried a green gasoline can filled to the brim. The baggy denim shirt, the wide pants that tried to slip down. It was foreign and out of place, but it was better than the dirty uniforms of the front guys that gave them away. Behind him, Blair slowly strode along, tears welling up in his eyes. The peak of happiness on the crest of freedom was replaced by a precipitous plunge downward, into a hole, the waves of stormy despair. They didn't run away from the war, no. They brought it with them, brought its millstones right to someone else's doorstep. Why the frick would you do that? Why the frick would you do that? Why wouldn't you stop him, bro? Huh. Sasha only coldly shivered in response. Shut the frick up. You want to survive, huh? Cut the crap. Get in and drive. Or do I have to carry you the rest of the way on my shoulders? Blair glumly opened the door on the driver's side and climbed in, while Sasha was pouring smelly gasoline into the walls. I feel like Sasha is like a split personality of Valera, probably. That's why we haven't seen him yet. The normally colorless, volatile slurry now seemed to him brownish red from someone else's spilled blood. Sasha shook his head, and the obsession evaporated into the rippling air. No, he won't break. He'll dig his teeth into the ground, but he won't let fate's villainy break him. The gasoline's blood transfusion was finished. Sasha threw the canister to the curb and stepped inside the car. What now? Let's go. What else? We'll go to the district center and we'll see what else happened. And there we'll see what happens. Excuse me. Blair sighed and sniffed his nose, but did not hurry to move. Here we are. Is it even worth it? What? Oh, all of it. Sasha put his hand on his comrade's shoulder, and his voice, unexpectedly for himself, warmed slightly. Listen, Valera. Yesterday you and I had our lucky ticket. If we had stayed, we wouldn't be here today. Everyone who gets sent to the front trenches, they don't come back. You know how it is. 5 men out of 100, and they're maimed. Some without an arm, some without a leg. If we'd stayed, we'd been pounded by artillery and airplanes right now. We traded 2 lives for 2 deaths. Like it or not, there's no other way. What's the grandma for? Sasha turned away and suppressed a sigh escaped from his chest. It wasn't us, it was someone else. Didn't have much to live for. You and me, we've got a lot to live for. The Waj truck wheezed, panted, and started off briskly, bouncing up bumps and bumps, plowing the brown mud behind it. Dark thoughts swarmed in Sasha's head like a pack of angry rats, wanting to burst out with a shriek. No matter how much he clung up to the deceptive mask of a cold indifference, the full weight of the deeds he had done finally caught up with him. In a vain attempt to distract himself, Sasha lowered his gaze and noticed something whitish red, slightly bulging and tattered on the rotten floor of the jalopy. He bent down, reached down, and pulled out what turned out to be a piece of bone. All that remained was the scrawny, puny sergeant who once drove the lieutenant in the very oohs from foxhole to foxhole. He had the misfortune to stand between them and their freedom, their escape. The first and by no means the last time their plan went to hell. Without a moment's thought, Sasha threw the cold shard of someone else's life torn through the broken side window. Then he looked into the eyes of someone he was about to kill in cold blood for the first time. For the first time, he felt himself to be the master of someone else's fate, judge and executioner in the same skin. He pulled the trigger without question or regret. The war drew out of his soul all the worst, all the pus that lurked between the screens and veils of a peaceful life. In the war, he became a beast that would kill anyone who came between him and the road home. Oh, okay. Maybe not then. Oh, this one has credits. Cool. Sorry, I start to lose my voice after I've been reading for a while. It gets all nasally and I can't breathe on my nose. Ah! New Angel Sanctuary. Okay, I gotta blow my nose again. Gosh, sorry. Dang, my Yeti mic button's like sticking or something weird. New Angel Sanctuary. That's a really weird manga / anime. When I woke up, I found myself in the wagon again. It seems like I've been on the road for several days now. Time spent on this train still haven't rid me of any doubts. Should I go back? It is perhaps too hard to decide. For too long, I couldn't find a place for myself after realizing my upcoming death. Still, my hometown can also abandon me. It already turned its back on me once. With each passing day, the food is more disgusting. Instead of calming, the repetitive clickety-clack of wheels on trains on rails is annoying me. And outside the window, endless wires entangling the gaze. Dank wind, damp poisonous air, and a drunk fellow traveler. It's as if every day is trying to turn me back. I'm still not sure, yet these factors are inspiring confidence in my decision. If I'm not coming back now, another chance to do so may not appear. In a month, my body won't handle this days-long challenge anymore. In 2, I'll probably will end up in a coffin. The traveling companion woke up and immediately tried reaching out for a bottle. Realizing that his strategic stock is gone, he howled like a stray dog. Dear sir, would you happen to have anything to drink? Wouldn't. I snapped at him and turned to the wall. I won't handle the pleading look of those bloodshot eyes anymore. Be patient, Schnetz. It's just a little more. Suddenly, I found myself alone. The neighbor silently disappeared. Before I could celebrate, I found a note on the folding table. Apartment number 5, a big fan of yours. This human being can't be a famous someone, can he? Anyway, I managed to get rid of him for some time. Imagine how the city looked like in my childhood. I remembered a large bell tower, green streets, a hill crowned by a statue of an unknown creator. Youth flew by before my eyes, just like the abandoned stations outside the window. But these memories seemed to be foreign, not mine. Something was wrong with them. Or am I the wrong one something is wrong with? Oh. Someone knocked on the door, interrupting my thoughts. Enter. Oh, it's a lady. A young woman, aged between 16 and 20, appeared on the doorstep. Odd-colored hair, round glasses, a tacky bow on her head, seemingly from the past century. She looks like a Ronin, dude. Her appearance became completely obscure. It seemed like she didn't even belong here.
I was waiting for you. Why didn't you show up?
Feeling bewilderment consumed me. I found some strength to answer. We met before?
Not yet, but I know a lot about you. You're Schnetz, am I right?
Who's talking? You have people talking in the background? It is me. I'm sorry to ask, but how would I happen to have any admirers? The woman stood shilly-shally, not knowing how to answer. Sit down, I said, pointing at the bunk. We'll sort it out now. How do you know me?
3 years ago, I came to your church. It was something you said that touched me, determined a lot. And I'd want to thank you somehow.
Many years ago? What was that thing that led to such a young girl on a sermon? What kind of gratitude she even wants to talk about?
My name is Liguri. You remember me?
I think I do. I think it all starts to make sense now.
Hello, Father. Sorry if you will find this man strange, but I don't know where to go anymore. I've been asleep for several weeks now. I see my own death in all details, horrible details. And I don't know why I think so much about it. My death always reminds me of myself. Death encircles me, insects, birds, and when I call it, everything becomes terribly, terrifying sad. I don't want to die at all, don't want to. I read a lot, but all of this wasn't anything that could help me to find the cause. I know very little about faith, but I think that overcoming death once again is believed to be impossible.
Oh, you think that death can be undone? Poor child, I thought, bracing myself. The girl is haunted by nightmares. She is cornered. A reasonable yet adamant answer can lead to suffering again. What a torture to mind it can be, perceiving death. That's what I dared to answer. Not being able to lie, I said the truth in some sense. I explained that God is not subject to death, that everything is His will, be it mortification or resurrection. The death which seems inevitable, in fact, obeys higher and more powerful forces. That death can still be undone. Yet it can take your whole lifetime to find a way.
If you find one, will you tell me? Or I will find you and definitely ask. Yes, you will surely succeed.
It put a smile on her face, even though Liguri couldn't be looked at without tearing up a few minutes ago. At the time, I believed that the thoughts I had announced inspired hope. Even if they were wrong, it's impossible to disprove them. But it is her standing in front of me, now who heard these words and determined something for herself. It was surprisingly hard to imagine the consequences of those innocuous words that had lost any meaning over the years. It is so. I remember you. But those words are not a reason to thank me. I'm just grateful you overcame your fears. Oh, she's waiting for the answer, bro. I tried to smile, but the corners of my mouth treacherously got stuck in a weird shape.
If so, I could warn you. If you don't mind, I would ask to depart this train.
Depart the train? You have a pretty strange sense of humor. Well, to begin with, the train makes no stop.
Please get off the train. Something irreparable awaits you. Even more irreparable than death.
Her words starts to resemble that drunk man's soliloquy now. Despite that, the girl remained quite serious. She frowned and leaned against the door. Wait, what are you talking about? This is my homeland, after all. I know what awaits me. In this case, Liguri, how could you explain how you ended up here?
I have been looking for you a very long time. All along, I've wanted to ask you if you found the answer.
Do it.
But now after I've been there, the answer is not needed anymore.
Oh god, my nose, dude. I'm so sorry. I can't. It's crazy because, like, I don't have any, like, snotting issues, like, before this, and then when I start reading something, it just, like, attacks me.
Father, it's even more terrifying than it was for me as a child. I don't want to neither live or die. And I can't explain why this is so. Why is it so hard and painful and...
Liguri has got herself completely confused. However, now it seemed to happen not because of me, but the city. Being there, she faced something inexplicable, and now this girl is being gnawed on by a thing much worse than that existential terror. Excuse me for this decision, but I'd rather stay. I have unfinished business here. I was glad to meet you. Her hands shook, yet she opened the door of the compartment.
Indeed, thank you so much, she mumbled,
and slipped out into the hallway. For a moment, it all seemed to get back to as it used to be. The neighbor procured some swill after all, and the whole wagon was now filled with frantic singing. The wheels rattled even louder, as if they were trying to mute this drunk howl. Yet amid the noise, I still managed to hear a loud yowl. My legs carried me to the fifth compartment, and my hunch was right. The window was broken, Liguri wasn't in there. Despite my parched throat, I read a prayer out loud. Her deed was beyond my understanding. Wait, did she jump out the window? What the heck? Oh, what? Oh, yeah, what the fudge? Why? I thought the howl... Yeah, that's him, so... I guess the yowl was her, and they just rhymed for some reason? What the heck? I wanted to get Liguri's horrific demise out of my head. For some time, I tried to think of how I could have prevented the tragedy. I suddenly thought that the answer didn't comfort her, but pushed her to the brink of madness instead. The fact I met her in a sickly condition on my approach to the city is nothing more than a coincidence, but nothing less than a symbol of the past that has to be reconsidered at death's door. A warning, though. Nevertheless, my words about knowing what awaits me here were a lie. I had no idea what happened in the city after so much time. Leaving the country many years ago, I lost the possibility of keeping in touch with my family. All the information reaching me was from tourists, and their stories made me wake up in cold sweats several times. Even though the city was untouched by wars, pandemics, or cataclysms, it hasn't been on the maps. Transportation was almost terminated. There were even rumors of power outages. The answers to the questions about what happened to it became more and more indistinct over time. Some claimed a conspiracy, some thought there is a secret facility being built. While I could handle those conspiracy theories, the next fact made my blood run cold. For a decade, the city hasn't seen the sun. Its outskirts have been in a misty twilight for 10 years now. However, this train, the last link between the city and civilization, is never empty. People come to the city. Many stay there forever. And holding the contradictory facts in my head became impossible. My return is not a nostalgic episode. It is rather an effort to understand what happened. I am struggling to ascend. Liguri was right. I never understood my final destination. The city welcomed me with an utter darkness. An enveloping inky blackness swallowed the once picturesque suburb through which the road from the station lied. Dead trees still carried the weight of faded leaves. Abandoned houses showed no signs of life. The windows watched me with empty sockets as if they were judging. This is my hometown, but here I am completely alien. I have a clear understanding of it now. Turning around, I suddenly realized that I was the only one walking this path. What about other passengers? Where did they go? I was grasping for any thought, refusing to believe the impossible. What happened to the city is truly unexplainable. Finally, skyscrapers appeared on the horizon, and round them grumpily loomed black swirling clouds that stroked houses on their gloomy heads and went further, capturing district after district. The power lines crisscrossed the city, stretching all the way to the horizon. A power outage, huh? Is there anything left beside electricity? An incessant hum of high voltage power lines was squeezing my skull. There was no sound in the city apart from the stag noise, yet it didn't die. Here come people, taking one train after another. They didn't find anything irrational here. A torn envelope showed the address I needed. I hope they still live here. The sons of my late wife, Arev and Saul, never left the city, dismissing my numerous invitations. I was making a fuss about a prestigious university and advocated for a reunion, but they were adamant. The city imprisoned them, tying with the curse wires. Now I will see them for the last time. Each attempt at preparing some kind of speech failed because of the insincerity and foolishness. It's hard to go back to a short conversation of past years. What's even harder is to start from scratch, regardless of the past. Since then, I didn't understand their stubborn desire to say. They never comprehended why I left and swore off coming back. That was the reason for why I had no speech, nothing to talk about. I would comfort them the way I tried to calm Liguri once. Though I'm afraid they don't care about neither mine or their lives. The door was opened reluctantly. Not being twins, the children became like two peas in a pod. They completely blended into something different yet single. But the city ceased to resemble itself in the past. Their life hasn't changed at all. They themselves, however... He doesn't look like our father. Look how much truth is in his eyes. Disgusting, Erev whispered to his brother. Doesn't belong here. The city won't accept him, Saul chimed in, not being bothered by my presence at all. Might he be an enemy? Perhaps he's dead. Maybe therefore, probably, apparently, seemingly according to... Don't recognize me. Not even that they don't understand who is in front of them. What kind of conversation could be had if they can't recognize their own father? Saul or Erev, I'll be gone soon. I came to apologize and to say goodbye. Then came a long pause. Trying to process my words, they stood silently, staring at each other. You surely are Sinets, Erev spoke. Then you died when you refused to take the cross off. You don't and can't exist. You're an enemy. Say your name and be led to the truth. Finding the truth, you will become a citizen and will find a place to live. That's what she said, Saul echoed. An enemy can be turned into a citizen and they will no longer be hostile. You didn't say anything about father. What should be done with fathers? Father, dear father, have you defied death? Saul asked and cackled just like his grandfather. His brother followed the example and the room was filled with wild laughter. I wanted to turn away. I saw something wrong, unusual, that couldn't be explained. I didn't understand a word of that, but could feel all the contempt they were mocking me with. What happened? What was it? I wheezed, caught ready to cough up blood once again. In a moment, the pain was suddenly gone, and the brothers finally settled down. You're weird, not from here for sure. That was Air's verdict, the firstborn in the heir.
Eve, do not bring the light. Please, tell me, why did you stay? Don't you understand what has become of you?
I blurted back. Oh, please tell me, why did you stay? Don't you understand what has become of you? I blurted out, backing away to the stairwell.
Once living beyond, Saul said,
pointing straight at me,
are only losers. We are the winners. We are the ones to be looked up to reckon with. No, not the other way around, as Shaness has always wanted to. That's right, you were turned inside out too, weren't you, stranger? Air picked up. You're saying one thing and thinking another. Then you truly are the father.
Saul did not agree.
No, you're not. We don't have a father anymore. The father is traveling around the world showing how to lose, how to obey. He is talking heresy and he's dead, and so be it.
Farewell, I choked out, crawling out of the apartment. And if you are still heir of Saul, remember that the park on the hill, the picnic near the lake, remember the guitar songs. Remember that father was there, and you were being happy. Tears pricked the back of my eyes. It was the last time seeing them, and the farewell turned out to be much more painful than I expected. I've always been disgusted with madness, never understood and wasn't ready to accept it. Yet my own children went insane, forgetting their father once and for all, with only contempt left for him. It wasn't about the city, it's me. I am the only one to blame. I didn't take them by force, allowing to rot here and to die in the void. Here's a punishment for that my undoing. I've been waiting for years for this moment, and now that's what it's like. They laughed right in my face, and they weren't the only ones who greeted the dying father laughing. I'm feeling even more pathetic about myself now. Walking to the church, I stopped a number of times. Won't I, who left his children profane the shrine, may I still show up there? After all, I'm devastated. All this darkness Arab and Saul were overtook with is getting into my soul now. I feel it, like I could feel a wound or a burn. Things are turning around inside me, demanding to stop, to lie down on down road, awaiting my death. I should just fix that. I don't know why I read it like it was. That's my bad. I keep doing it anyways. And now after seeing that, climbing to my homeland's bell tower was the thing I wanted more than anything else. To try to numb the pain at least. Find a reason to continue living. The ruins were before my eyes. The shrine was abandoned, left rotting. The masonry crumbled, the rich interior was gone, and nothing resembled that very church anymore. No man has gone here since I left. Yet, it was monsters and demons who favored this place. Taking the shrine apart brick by brick, before the eyes of one who captures creation, they cried in joy. Get lost, you spawn of holiness. There is nowhere on this planet where you'll find peace until you give up the robe and break the cross. Leave until this grave howls. On this land, the shrine can only shriek. Enough with listening to their moans. And this whiner said they am shaking his finger at the ruins, begs cutting off his head. Shrine serves them as a silent reproach. Though why silent? They hear excruciating catcalls of their own conscience, mistaking them for ruins' cries. Oh, is he talking again? I can't tell him he's talking or not. Neither you or your church belong here. Go away, he screeched, waving a pickaxe. Demon was right, I don't. My comeback was a mistake. The city I grew up cannot be brought back anymore. The city I left couldn't become an abyssal crypt, flouting all that is sacred. It's something else beyond my comprehension, outside the human concepts. Yet the destructive absurdity of mocking the church made me not cry but laugh freely and loudly. Laughter was because of helplessness, an inability to watch or suffer from enduring this. What happened to the city was indeed irreparable. more irreparable than death. Don't you dare mention him. The shrine cries, but he doesn't care. He didn't give a darn about us. Awaiting divine punishment, we grew beards, but it didn't come and won't. It's clear why no one will listen to you. They can't stand it, and there's no sense. I'm the only one in need of the church in this city. You don't need one for sure. Look, Shadet's what you became, what you are like. You're hollow, pale, just like a corpse, so why are you still here if it's too late to find the truth? The demon was describing himself. He was not interested in anything but destruction, which went on day after day, tediously. In all those years, they would have demolished even 100 shrines, but the main point is to enjoy the process of this painstaking mockery. What keeps them from resting? Why does the alien remind them of death? When will you destroy all of it? When will you finally leave this body? Today we devour the belfry. Tomorrow we're devouring the belfry. The next day, we're devouring the belfry. For a month, we're devouring the belfry. For a year, we're devouring the belfry. We devour and devour, but it stands still. Because it's lifeless, because it can't be changed. Because... Suddenly they shouted, the crowd began to rumble. Many dropped the tools and stood in a long, wavy line. Tokeen, holy Tokeen, our protector. Iconoclasts stepped aside, allowing their goddess to go through. A tall, stately woman walked through the rows of workers and noddingly approved to the most leather lunge she approached me.
Natsumali, why did you leave here? She asked, examining my robe.
Hope, mistress. Faith and hope. I believe that I will spend my last days here and nowhere else. I believe that my life will be complete in the most logical way. Yet this isn't life after all. Existence is quite the opposite to reality. I can't even explain what it's all about. I don't want to neither live or die. I can't explain why this is so. Why is it so hard and painful and...
It's very simple. Even though you were born here, you're not a citizen. Strive to surrender to death and not to overcome it. That's why the city doesn't accept people like you. It rejects death and all its henchmen. Tokeen, have you on...
What? Who's talking now? I thought she was talking.
Tokeen, have you undone the death?
That was too little time to understand the truth, but what I saw began to coalesce into one. That is right. Extracting death out of the life equation allows you to...
Not how you imagine paradise to be, right?
She read my thoughts without even realizing it. This woman did what only I dreamed about. She found the way indeed. How on earth? You, Tokeen, tell me how to. I will become a citizen. At least there will be nothing else I could do. So
be it,
Tokeen uttered thoughtfully. Her mind wasn't here anymore. She tried to manifest the past in all its details. Such narratives, determined to be precise, certainly required the declaration.
One day, I really wanted to live. With the desire to leave always comes a fear of dying, and now it seems obvious to me, but back then, the fear of death was something new, unknown. As a child, you can find out the answer to any question, if not from your parents, then in some abstruse encyclopedia. The question of death, however, no matter the importance, was always ignored. I ceased to understand why would no one think about anything else in general if death always dominates human and is ready to take them away. Evading her attributes the reminders of her the warnings of fate itself is so unnatural and fake that the entire world around us has turned into a theater of madmen.
It was made up of I don't know who's talking.
It was made up of people terrified of thinking of complex things and looking for the truth. And the faith is passive. Holiest of humans refused fighting death, realizing their inability to do so. Besides our resistance of death, they are the ones who inspire evolution and controlling fate. Everything is God's will, every priest declares. Human's will is insignificant to you, as if it's absent from religious concepts alone. I regret that I realized this too late. If a person is ready to entrust his own life to God, then he is unable to resist death. So what is science is even more useless since it has absolutely nothing to rely on. Science condemns both God and will, and the reminder is only truth, relative truth, not the one I needed.
This is a really confusing one.
While I asked for death, many institutes at least tried to explain the value of life. When I wished for life, no one could promise to save me from death, or even tell me about what was on the other side. The city is both salvation and answer. It is the truth in itself. Enough of this for now. You were asking about the way, weren't you? The death has lost a lot of henchmen. She's weak and alone, but thanks to her assistance, the efficiency is perfect. Time, Terra, and Sun allow her to take people. All of them must be dealt with in order for death to loosen her grip. The time must be stopped, Terra must be taken, the sun be wiped off the sky. Then death will be nullified, so once my decision 10 years ago, not knowing that I, to start, needed to face death in a duel one-on-one. Once I found the way she wanted to kill me. Look how artlessly, cruelly she acts. What kind of power she has acquired over people. The moment my heart stopped beating, she appeared in front of me. She looks too much like you, Schnetz. The shape of her face is exactly like yours. We didn't have anything to talk about. The language of the dead is obscure. A human can't comprehend it. The death understands only the language of force. She can be defeated exclusively by will. Squeezed her neck like this, Toki said, choking me and demanded to surrender. Accept her defeat and never encroach on my life. Surgeons weren't able to get my heart working again. Yet I remained alive and continued to fight. 10 years now, I've been beating her back from human lives, space, and time. And death grows weak and retreats. When all that are truly alive follow me, we will triumph. Across the continent at first, and then all over the world. He was obsessed in the way of an ancient king would be when ordering a thief to be carved out.
Wait, okay, this is him now. However, her mad words were honest truth. Her words were an indisputable fact, especially for those who were in the city.
Continue praising my knowledge. It won't be long before this happens.
Continue. What you're trying to say is that I was a preacher of yours all along.
Undoubtedly, Schnetz. It's not just about your perception of death. While you were living as a missionary, there was nothing sacred left on your land. Yet the criteria for sainthood have changed every century, and now they will also change by the will of the winners.
Shrines were left the same, but the faith that had to be changed. Toki and as many others was led to the church by that very fear. He was disappointed while the rest turned into a flock. In the city, everything is different. Death's absence deprives citizens of terror. Is it so that fear was the only thing leading people to the shrine?
So, are you ready to be a citizen, Schnetz? Did my words convince you?
Toki played with me, perfectly sensing her superiority. While breaking the cross? Nonsense. Were they the ones who assured you of that? Oh, woman asked mockingly, pointing to the townspeople.
It's actually important to think about the dress code. Instead of this robe, let's say a white coat should be necessary. Coat of salvation. Wearing a white coat, you realize the sickness of people around. Realize the need of importance of being tolerant, of agreement with every unfairness, understanding your inequality. The attribute is the main achievement of science.
I'm sorry, but I'm sick myself. I feel it like no one else can, finding these things to doubt every time. Question my mind. I want to find a sane person, but found only sick ones around, whose suffering are more severe, more intolerable than mine. Toki, you're not the only one obsessed by the search for truth, yet I seek its other meaning. I don't intend to surrender to death, but I don't belong to the city anyway. The city is madness, and it's madness that I'm trying so hard to revoke.
By your logic, I'm insane too. Even though I'm right. Those who reject absolute truths are mad, and it's those madmen that I call enemies. Any enemy can be convinced, the city attests to that. Our trains come here, and no one leaves the city. No one plans to return to the world of madness.
Liguri went back. She's seen the city, and this landscape worsened her confusion. So why did she come back here once again? Stockholm Syndrome? I know a man who... a woman who rejected the city. It was a woman earlier. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, exactly. I met Liguri on the train. She tried to warn me about this visit, but it was too late.
Liguri? Oh, how amusing. And where is she now?
Toki knew the fate of everyone who left the city. No wonder Liguri came to death as well.
And you still didn't understand the key thing. Now tell me, Schnetz, who has left a note?
I froze in place. For all this time, madness. Utter madness. Truth is that... Oh, the actual question? Liguri is Liguri, dude. Coming back to the city, I found myself in a hall full of mirrors, a reflecting kaleidoscope which could only be left at the cost of death. Liguri tried to warn me, but in vain. I should have jumped out with her. Yet it was the will I lacked to do so. Whatever I chose, I lost. A battle not against death, Toki's adversary, but against madness, my nemesis. What did my father say before putting on the noose? Laugh as loud as you can. Laugh, my son. He rumbled and finally hanged. And I laughed my head off until his body slid back to the ground. Rejoice, Dad, I said. I to a pile of relics. You're happy, don't, Dad? Your burden will be mine. Yes, all mine. I'm finally willing to accept everything I've been preparing for my whole life. Take all the sins of all the suffering so that she, the Holy Mother of God, remains carefree and gentle. So that all the world's atrocities don't settle on the purest soul, don't desecrate the living embodiment of an angel. That's what you taught me, Dad, and I learned everything perfectly. I want to see if these actually are different. Oh, okay, they are different. Well. We'll come back. He flew away, fluttered out the window, but Toki took her place. She is the new angel, the victorious. The triumph doesn't bode well, however. The win over death has changed life itself forever. Destroyed it as a thing of the previous understanding. The city won't ever see the sun again. 10 years ago, time stood still, and now nothing will change here. Conquering the earth, kilometer by kilometer, darkness will take over the entire planet, sparing no one and nothing. What now? Have I seen the truth? It's gotta be the truth, right? Or have I gone completely mad? Come an enemy. Ness refused her, preferring to train back. Toki didn't understand. A man laughing in the face of death is clearly bad. The preacher rejecting eternity is clearly out of his mind. Ness chose death deliberately. In the city, she would have never overtaken him, but now when his heart began beating in the chest again, Ness was doomed. Someone shyly knocked on the door of his compartment. A young woman, aged somewhere between 16 and 20, appeared on the doorstep. Odd colored hair, round glasses, a tacky bow on her head, seemingly from the past century. Her appearance being completely obscure, it seemed like she didn't even belong here. Liguri came to thank him. He was dying, and light and happy, joyfully forfeiting to death. Oh. Okay. Let's do the other ones. I'm a citizen. I had no choice but to accept her doctrine. Since becoming a citizen and changing my clothes, I've no longer heard a reproach. Even the gloomy scenery ceased to be depressing. The appearance of the city seemed the most natural to me, yet the doubts never left me. I realized that Toki was wrong. She herself became similar to death. After all, it didn't lose, but simply gave way to her. Instead of cemeteries and graves, it opened the reserve of the new death angel, allowing Toki to manage space and time in her own interest. Too bad it can't be explained to the newly arrived. With these thoughts overcoming my fear, I enter my son's apartment. We hugged, drank, discussed the events of the past years. The absence of future was completely satisfying for us all. The absence of a heartbeat gave a hope. Okay, man. This one's got all the achievements. The girl is Toki. You hate the city, Toki. This is not what your heaven should have looked like. The girl on the train is you. You, but not truly you. Rather, the actually alive you. Whatever I chose, I lost. A lost battle against, not against death, Toki's adversary, but against madness, my nemesis. What did my father say before putting on the news? Laugh as loud as you can. Laugh, my son. He rumbled and finally hanged. And I chose to laugh my head off until his body slid back to the ground. Rejoice, Dad, said I. This is about the same thing. To a pile of relics, you're happy now, Dad. And your burden will be mine. Yes, all mine. Finally willing to accept everything I've been preparing for my whole life. Take all the sins of all the suffering, so that she, the Holy Mother of God, remains carefree and gentle. So that all the world's atrocities don't settle on the purest soul, don't desecrate the living embodiment of an angel. Which you taught me, Dad, and I learned everything properly. Flew away, fluttered out the window, but Toki took her place. She is a new angel, the victorious. This is the same. I'm still, and now nothing will change here. The conquering the earth, kilometer by kilometer, darkness will take over the planet. That doesn't matter. This looks the same. Okay, let's try the other one. The girl is me! Is it possible that she was a missing piece of me? It was me. Oh gosh. It was me who used to come to the shrine. It was me asking. Oh, God dang. It was me who used to come to the shrine. It was me asking this question. It's me who is now dead. Whatever I chose, I lost. Yeah. Okay. It doesn't matter who's who, apparently. Farewell to Dare. Over there. Oh, please let this be animated. That'd be fantastic. Sheesh. I don't think it is. We're gonna have to read. Prepare yourself. I kind of liked the last story, but yeah, it was a little bit confusing. The working day ended about half an hour ago. All the work is done and it's time to go home, but instead I find myself in a daze and just looking out the window. Hundreds of thoughts are running through my head, but I can't focus on any of them. A minute passes, then 5, then 10. When the ventilation system turns off and the clicking of the heels of the last colleague who stayed up late ceases to be audible, I force myself to leave. Unming research. The innovative developments, high technologies, and research that I do seem insignificant and meaningless against the backdrop of all the horror that is happening. They seem empty. What's the point of scientific achievements if there's no one to use them? I look at the sky. Previously I saw entire galaxies on it, myriads of stars, each unique and unlike the other. The quadrillions of wide-open eyes looking down at me from the sky lowered their eyelids and seemed to close forever. I reached the bar, lost in my own thoughts, but if someone asked me what I was thinking about all that time, I wouldn't be able to answer anything. I automatically order something from the bartender. He immediately recognizes me and gives me a discount on the draft unming beer. I sit in the bar until midnight. Girls of easy virtue and rather drunk regulars sit down next to me, but I ignore them. They wave their hands at me and go off to have fun, as if nothing terrible was happening. I can't wrap my head around their behavior. I pay for the drinks and go home. I undress mechanically, wash myself. I don't have dinner. For over a year, I had absolutely no appetite, and I am losing a lot of weight because of it. I take out the pills left here by the previous tenant. The neighbors say he was a terribly stupid and evil man, and one day he woke up as an old man with a different face and a diametrically opposite character. Now his bones lie in the ground, buried and forgotten by everyone. That was long ago, in the days when sons buried their fathers and not the other way around. I washed down his pills with a glass of Jackson and Clinton Reserve, the world's finest whiskey, without which none of my stories are complete. And I go to bed. I start to feel something pulsating in my head. At first the pulsation seems barely noticeable, but over time it intensifies, and with it I finally experience relaxation. Ooh, that's a lot of pictures. Give me a stroke. Ah, it's Angel Death. I look at my reflection. That's our reflection. And slowly come to the realization that it is not me in the reflection. That makes sense. The hands, feet, face, and eyes look exactly like mine, but my mind... okay. Mine still tells me there is a stranger in the mirror whom I've never met before. I slowly raise my right hand and watch my reflection. The stranger in the mirror also raises his hand. It seems to me that his movement is different from mine, but it is not so. Then I raise my left hand, shake my head, check the stranger in the reflection. The stranger repeats everything perfectly. So perfectly that I almost begin to believe that he is my reflection. I might even have believed it, but this is the one thing this guy screwed up. He's so engrossed in copying me that he completely forgot about everything else. The devil is in the details. Beside me, my room is also reflected in the mirror. Who's the shadow person? Naked shadow person in the corner of the room. At first glance, everything looks like it should. The books on the shelves are scattered just like mine. The statue of Diana in the corner is also half-turned. The painting hangs in its place. But the tower and the elephant outside the window are not in their places. That's where he gets caught. And looking at me from the other side of the mirror, he begins to understand from my eyes that he has been seen through. I don't need a mirror with a false reflection. No one needs such a mirror, so I go up to it, and my mind is already considering whether to simply throw it in the trash or to break it at first and drag out the deceiver for a conversation. This is a very brave man. But neither of these dreams are destined to come true. As soon as I approach the mirror, a strong smell of earth hits my nose. I sniff the rim of the mirror and notice the small clods of fresh earth have accumulated in its ornamentation in the crevices. I decide not to touch the mirror yet. Instead, I open the window to get some air and go outside. There is no one in the city. The fog, visible only when your mind is ready to see it, that suddenly covered the city, took everyone away, and imbued the soil, the walls, the plants of the city with malice and hatred. The lush gardens that bloomed outside my hut a year ago have decayed and turned to ashes. The air, once filled with music, birdsong, and insect chatter, began to smell of a sickly mustiness. Like a rotten fruit, he only grew darker and darker with each day spent under the oppression of the fog. Ah, how much I wish that all that happens turns out to only be a dream caused by the flight of a bee around a pomegranate. But that, alas, is not the case. The dying city is real. The fog is real. Like a giant bear ravaging a beehive, the fog destroys us and makes us angry at ourselves. I wish someone would defeat that bear. Someone capable of standing up to him. To a angry, large, aggressive bear. There is no way to stand against such an opponent alone. There's another way out. There is a door in the city. Once dropped from the sky, it stands apart from all the other structures in the city. It leads to the truth. The very truth sung by poets and minstrels, to the truth lost centuries ago, in the turmoil left somewhere out of the looted ruins of the Parthenon. Like 1,000 caryatids, truth holds the roof of this forgotten temple with its last strength. The philosophers of the world are searching for it, spending their worthless lives in all to no avail. They look inside the temple, but pay no attention to the temple itself. They wander across the marble floors, looking for something under their feet, and they raise their heads only when one of the caryatids, whose face has long since been covered with a web of cracks, does not fall on one of them and crush them. Then the others raise their heads and wonder, and what they were looking for immediately pales before what they find. I noticed a pomegranate tree next to the door. One of the fruits, given a slight gust of wind, sways, breaks off the branch, and falls. A bee immediately settles on the fruit. I chase it away and pick the pomegranate up. The pomegranate, just a second ago, fresh and ripe, to my surprise, has already managed to completely soak up the invisible stuff that our soil is full of, and is completely rotting before my eyes. Blackened, it collapses right in my hand, and I squeamishly brush off the slime that's left of it. Following the fruit, the tree withers. First the leaves and the rest of the fruit fall off, leaving behind only withered branches, and then they, together with the trunk, rot and disappear. Oh, look at the umbrellas. I'm looking at the door again. Suddenly a forgotten memory appears, a meteorite that fell in the woods, which turned out to not be a meteorite at all. Of course, it's Alba Bernarda, my last memory of life in the city. It seems like eternity ago, and after eternity there is stagnation. The door is right in front of me. Behind it are the tombstones. Why I could not make a wish like Alba walking through the door. Wish it could come true. I would make a wish. I would ask at the door that the fog would go away from the city, that things would go back to the way they were before. Carefree faces of citizens on the streets, talking about nothing with random strangers on the town forum. No fog and the threat he sows. As soon as the desire in my head forms definitively, a bright flash envelops everything around me. Uh-oh. Oh, bright. Give me a couple chill. It glares at me, but in the next second it disappears as quickly as it appeared. The door is open and there's a light outside the door. I do believe that when I walk through the door, I will make my wish reality. But the gravestones outside the door scare me. I hesitate and shift from foot to foot until I detect the appearance of a light, darkish haze in the air that the air turns into. It is becoming obvious that the fog will soon reach its climax and consume me, as well as the rest of the city inhabitants. There's nowhere to run. So I decide to turn around to see the fog. Fog is not very fog looking. That looks like Ramses from Courage the Cowardly Dog. And it looks, of course, just like so many other creations of mankind. It's obvious that the fog was created by humans. They are to blame for what is happening now. I scrutinize the ugly face of the fog, and the mountains of skulls he leaves behind. Vultures and crows circle over all this man-made ugliness, and their wings grow larger with each flap, and their bodies grow larger with each skull. Having had enough, I turn away. The door, of course, leads where I think it leads, but there's no other way out. There is no variation, no choice, and there never has been. Before entering, I take one look at the sky, at the sand beneath my feet. I feel a slight breeze and the faint smell of damp earth, and I cross the threshold. Oh. The light envelops me. I can physically feel it. Feel the waves of it coming at me more and more insistently. But feel every photon of light slamming into my body. The light wraps me in a pleasant warmth, warms me. It warms me. Warms me? It warms until it starts to burn. Oh, that's no good. And finally, I disappear. Not a great sacrifice to save the city, but I sacrifice everything I have. What will come of this sacrifice is unknown, but I would truly like to see at least one small chance of salvation from the fog born out of it. And out of the chance comes faith. Out of faith comes hope. Out of hope comes peace. Farewell to Dare. 4th novel completed. So they're all like really different, but ranking these, in my opinion, is this one makes the most sense, I believe. No, this one. Yeah, this one makes the most sense. This one, I think I had. I think it's like altogether like the most put together one with like the illustrations and the story. This one had the like most interesting. I think it was interesting, even though I might not have understood everything. I thought it was pretty, because of the supernatural elements and whatnot. I kind of like that one a lot. This one, I think, had the best pictures. I thought it was like really unique artwork, which I'm not an art judge, so I'd give a grain of salt, obviously. But that's my ratings for these 4. But yeah, thanks for watching as always, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll have the link in the comments or in the description so you can support the creator. Bye, guys. Bye.